be something that finally tames them. We'll see if Wild can try and pull themselves back in. My worry demo, well, I have a few. I think that is that fair? I have a list. I don't even have a list. I have a graphic made by Fresh that you look at and you go, uh-oh. Is this rated 60th of entry. So the lowest of entry of every single team across all the regions in Tier 1. I believe that was the graphic. This is a map where that first kill often follows a very quick second engagement or a follow-through because it's very thin. You have teams that will try and get that aggression very, very quickly across the board. So WYLDE are really going to have to try and step that up here on Border, where you can go from 0 to 100 within about 2 seconds.
This is, for me, a map which is all about supporting each other. And that mostly comes in on the defensive side. Border is a very small map. If you compare that to your labs, your layers, even your banks, what we've just seen, this is a fundamentally very small map with 2 floors, and that is it, okay? Border for me has always been very close to my heart. It is my favorite map in the game. And I just know how chaotic this map can get. For the defense, it is about maintaining a strong structure where if somebody falls, you're there immediately for that trade. Because like you mentioned, the gunfights come in hot and heavy. One leads to another, to another, to another. Yeah?
Yep.
I think for the attackers, the way you want to attack it is just pick an area and just go for it. Just full send every bit of utility you have. This is a map where I feel you don't need to focus on the traditional approach to Siege. You don't need to go through, okay, drone this, clear out roamers here, open up this wall, plant. It is just find a pick where you can get it. You know, it's almost like desperation that you kind of play Border on the attack. It's just getting stuck in.
Well, let's see how stuck in they try and get themselves. There was a little bit of a, will Boomsy ever be allowed to play Monty? They asked in the chat as it gets removed. No is the answer. Double shield ban is a fairly standard removal across any of the places. But here, where you have the chance to break through, Blitz or Blackbeard is very nice to remove. And the Monty is just a sort of comfort for a lot of others. The start of the focus, the threading of this defense. Noodles keeping their eyes down towards a waiting area patiently for an approach on Passport.
Yes, he's right down into waiting room and kind of stops anyone crouch walking about looking to go up in towards east. One little thing that will make things difficult for Wolves in the hole that they're going for is, of course, they're extending over in towards security. They don't have the Izami to kind of hunker down that security as well as they can. And come on, you gotta move, Azar, you gotta move. That's a Deimos blow tracking you. I'm actually surprised he didn't get picked there because he took, you know, a hefty amount of damage there, but no, just a little bit of a scratch.
I mean, Deimos is going to be always a very powerful tool on a map like Border. It is all cardboard. It is so shootable through. It is so dangerous. And as Mats takes a bit of damage on their attempted approach here towards CCTV, this is what Border is. A lot of probing, prodding, those external angles. They've been able to get themselves a bit of a foothold towards the east stairs and trying to push their way potentially towards office. It's a big divide to cross, and you can see how little ground Wolves are wanting to give up, playing on the back of a broken mirror window as the Jaeger target comes across it from Deimos. They're still hunting Azza, forcing them out. Sometime bought. They're getting the call that they're in east. They're still in east. They've got a hold of east, but they need to do more. WYLDE, they get the first pick. They get Noodle, who is swinging on towards 90. Now, can they try and circle on that CCTV player? They've been able to get themselves a good bit of groundswell and are paying keen attention towards the chance of a flank here, but as the attempted fight comes through, Krex threads a needle, gets one. The pings of the Deimos, though, catch them. Bad time to look away. 2 kills explode here and towards the side of WYLDE. Now a 4 versus 2. Leader with the C4. All that's really left, some pockets full of utility here all across the board for WYLDE, and well, 2 less frag grenades to be part of that. But the breach is together as his leader hiding and laying patiently in wait. The C4 still in pocket as well, so can drop underneath. They're pushing for the kill, but it doesn't matter, Demo.
Wow. Wow. Azar just stuck in the box, somehow finds 2. I mean, just full sprint at him. Why? Still a bit of time. Just, I don't know. Yeah. The desk kind of mentioned how Wolves were a side that just threw away leads, and they certainly did that in their game against Falcons. And Wild said, "Hold on a minute. We'll one up you on that one." And Shakers, I don't know what to say. A 4v2 looking good, and then they just completely lose their heads. I will say though, Leader made a very smart rotation, didn't he? Jumped out of the breach at the perfect time, where he jumped through that breach as Wild were in that position of rotating into their positions. You know, he kind of caught them in that little bit of a blind spot, isn't it? You know, you've put it in reverse, and you haven't checked your blind spot, and Leader's gotten in the way of things. You know, insurance claim. What can you say? So overall, I think for Wolves, not the greatest, because again, I just don't think that they played as aggressive to get the kills as what they should have in Border, because again, Border's that map with layers where you keep getting pushed back. At some point, you have to fight, or else you're just going to get cut off and collapsed on, which is kind of what happened to them. But my oh my, I think they're very, very fortunate just for Wild to make that one misstep. They allowed Leader to push through. Don't know what they were doing with Azar. He's just very, very, very fortunate that he got away with those 2 kills, but still, Wolves win the round. That's all they care about.
I mean, that is, right? And, well, as Boomsy goes out first, Twitch gone. It's a rocky gun to lose, but as I sort of called it with the double shield ban, Blitz or Blackbeard, for me, they're both very, very powerful on the right team here. And, well, as Evan gets some of the work done on towards the castle barricade, worried about someone running out on him, they're not going to muck about with the chance of being hurt here on the east stairs side. Still, I think Wolves realized, so we didn't like the fact that they just came in, pushed, and got that first kill. We sat and waited for them, so let's take the party to them. In exchange, dropped.
Extension, though, from Wolves using the castle, of course, which is a very strong operator in conjunction with the mirrors. As you can see, you kind of have these layers that you can fortify off that east stairs into the main corridor area, which is pretty strong. But whenever that does get opened up, then obviously you're going to have to fall back, and it does make the mirror unplayable. But still, it wastes a bit of time, wastes a bit of utility, and it's just for Wild. It's that kind of sluggish, you know, attack that you have to do on Border, where you just have to play through the motions. You have to go through the util. Border is a map where you can just sidestep stuff. You do have to kind of go at it at full force. So for Wild, again, they have to get stuck in. They have to go through this tenuous slog. But at the moment for Wolves, no pressure on them really at the moment, as all of the pressure is just coming from East. Like, nobody from Wild is actually looking to maybe hit a backstab and put some pressure over towards the vent window, for example, maybe a crouch walk over towards Armory. They're all just coming from the one direction, which just makes things really easy for Wolves, though. They just have to have their guns up, pointed at the one angle.
Now with Evan loudly communicating towards the team of how they want to structure themselves on towards Office, and Wolves not really forgoing any ground. 50 seconds, but they need to try and look towards the 3-2-1 perfection executes restore of Secret of the previous map and try and get some of that magic for themselves. But Tyrant wants to step back into the fold a little, pulls themselves back. They're not entirely sure where the full cover and the read is, but you know, it's always worth remembering now as 15 seconds have flitted away since Evan's taken the drop, has himself a Guma in his foot to prove for it, but do they think they have enough of the control of the pressure here on towards the back to just tuck a plant behind the shield with the vertical cover? No is the answer. There's the chance of a swing, chance of the open corridor. They're putting a lot up to the faith here, and the Solace is too far away, but not Azza. All the way from the beepers, gets them stocked in. There's blows back and forth, just Matt's left, and they thought the Wolves were unaware. Oh, the Wolves were circling, Demo.
Yeah, again, for a while, they just didn't take enough of the map. All pushing in from east side. All they really wanted to do was try and move in towards Fountain, in towards Archives, but if you're trying to then go for the plant, you need customs. You know, it's basic stuff in my eyes. You know, for Border, if you want to go for these plants, you need to have these certain rooms, and certainly customs. You see that long angle from Azar here. You can sit there and do that all day long. That's just because they put all their eggs in one basket going upstairs. Nobody thought, oh, maybe I'll slip away here and try and take ground by myself in other areas, which, again, you'll see teams, they'll have that one straggler kind of move off and maybe jump in free supply, try and get himself in towards jail and take that side of the map for his team. It feels so Border, you have to do a lot of things at once. You have to multitask almost.
Wolves now get themselves stepped in, but you know, Azza from great position there, just had the lockdown, and I think this is maybe that conversation that was had a bit about VOD preparation, about awareness, right? Wolves, they had themselves so certified. They weren't really pushed out of Armory. They were sort of, there was a statement of don't come across this path, but they didn't need to truly try and battle with it. I think they obviously still had position in Fountain, whether it was rotated into or not. And then underneath, around security, around the back end of Border, they just weren't forced out of position. Didn't seem like Wild really knew where Wolves wanted to be. Now, they have the idea of something potentially quick here, Demo.
Yeah.
They've got the zip up towards the window, maybe above, or maybe just directly in. The glass to cover the smoke. There's a Blackbeard, there's a shield on their back. Goes for a plant. Is that an assumption?
It could be. I think the Amaru they're mixing is very interesting in terms of actually how they're going to use mats. It's not going to be in a planting role. As you can see, Evan has that, like you quite rightly called. Maybe it's a case of sending Amaru in upstairs to try and dispute the players trying to hold above. And here we go. In goes the smokes, in goes the util. The C4, the will misses. Evan has perfectly ran deep, and now we'll go for that plant.
Yeah, they went for the rush. They are no muss, no fuss, and as the glass does what it does, Wild, operating on this quick run strategy, gets themselves an explosion. Now, Wolves on the back foot. They're trying to get control of Passport. They don't. Sneak gets the second for the round. They're going to go for 3, and it's 3 for the Trouble. They are on the board. They have a round. Now, can they try and find more of that? It was, you know, it was a readable plan from our perspective. It's not a plan that you would say would work twice, but it gets them going. It gets them cooking.
Yeah. Gets the cheese in, doesn't it? You've cheesed around. Simple as that. Order, plenty of rushes.
Everybody loves cheese.
Lot of rushes. Multiple different ways you can really rush every bomb slot in this map. Because, again, the chaotic nature of the map leans into that. There's one of them. Pretty simple. Smokes in. Run steep. Yeah. If a team isn't switched on for it, you will find success. So for Wolves, bit of a wake-up call to really see that falter. Was a case of they kind of thought, oh, if we do get rushed, we have a guy in bathroom with a C4. Guy just runs straight for the C4. You know, he doesn't care. And once you miss that C4, how do you stop that plant going down? The question is, do you even get a chance? Because obviously the glass is on the window. He's not going to let you move anywhere. And that's the strong suit that you get with that glass of just holding those long angles through the smokes. They can't contest against you. Simple picks from a very hard-hitting sniper rifle that will kill you in 2 shots. Yeah, pretty easy. Wolves, I think for them, they've lost the kind of third bomb site choice for them, which is that too much of a big deal? Probably not, because they know they get the top floor back, then they'll get their bottom floor again back as well. They'll get their vents and workshop in, so I don't think they're too fussed about bathroom tellers. It can be a bit of a tedious site to hold because you have to extend almost across 60% of the map, which some teams don't like. But yeah, I think for Wolves, it'll just be back to the Mira strategies again. I'm actually surprised that Mira wasn't banned out by Wild, because it seems to be a pretty common occurrence in the Wolves lineup, certainly for the 2 bomb sites that they won. It was featured around having that Mira holding down areas like Break Room, for example. But instead, they've chosen to go for a Fenrir ban. So maybe they're looking at going for those kind of little slip-ins, crouch walking up staircases, looking for those openings, and not having to deal with the Fenrirs. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
I think that's it. I think they've seen an opportunity. They've seen a sort of break in the armor in the previous round that maybe if they go for strikes a bit more quickly, callously, and directly to the heart, they could get away with some more. And Fenrir is always a problem for that, and, you know, operates in that sort of territory here as they break their way across. They get in the read on first take on towards Azure. And, you know, let's be honest, in some regards, they should have probably won this the first time round. It was a 4 versus 2 at the point, and it was players sitting in very often awkward positions as they tried to take a cross office and try to throw themselves at box. So at this point, it's their opportunity to go back to how things were working and to try and stick the landing after the failure of the first time round. There's little dabbles of pressure as it was. They'll try and maybe focus on towards Krex, but it's a leader that gets caught out, sort of dilly-dallying in office.
Wild, just slowing the pace down. A pretty slow approach, but it's working for them whenever they're finding these picks, and Wolves are just struggling to find anything in return. And a great position for Krex to be in, being Deimos tracked and also in the midst of a swarm. those Bs, of course, will reveal his position, and he's in a very bad spot right now. An easy shot from Max, but Noodle did well to at least kill one, but still, that 2-man advantage is in favor for Wild as we head into the final minutes. Gonna have to be another 2v4 from Wolves.
Well, now as they get themselves another and they stack themselves in 2 versus 3, it's getting into touchy territory once again. But Sneak does at least stem the flow of blood. There's a dance outside. Tyrant cannot get the second. He was tempted by the engagement, and here things level up, things tie up 2 apiece. Now, could obviously be at this point Wild, if the other time on towards the top floor had gone in their favor, a bit of a runaway. It is border, it is attack, it does work well for them, but at the same time, you know, you've got to look to the momentum of the game. It's confidence building for them.
Yeah, another good round for them. They learn from their mistakes in that 2v4. You get a little bit nervous whenever you see that go to 2v3, or we're gonna have a repeat of what happened before, but thankfully they were able to close it out. So we don't have another repeat of the mishap that happened in round number 1. Certainly if you look at the side of Wolves though, getting caught out in positions where you're not allowing your team to trade kill for kill. One thing I mentioned about Border, you need to be able to trade back if one of your teammates dies on the defense. As they're just swinging outside windows, for example, your team's never going to be able to get that trade back. That's not going to happen. You're not putting the attackers at a position where, yes, he has to push in to get a kill, and then he also leaves himself open to be traded. Sitting outside in the window, everyone knows that. You just sit outside. Renshiro was always a great player who just sat outside of a window, and you could never trade him because of the angles that he would just hold. But don't give him those opportunities. Don't swing needlessly for no reason. It's something that Jack highlighted on the Telestrator. Happened last week to Azir. He swung needlessly where he didn't need to.
I think it's also, you know, I'm sort of worried about the opening game, that engagement game. As I said, it's going to be one of those things where you've got to sort of focus on it. Wolves have, to their credit, they're 3-1 on the split of it. Booms is the only one who's suffered on the wrong side of an opening engagement, and they're shutting down Noodle specifically. Is 0-2, 1-4 across the game at this point, and that gun game is into their favor. They have a good read, and they seem to have a good focus. It was just a landing where there's been a couple of problems. They'll buy themselves some time here on towards the tension as Wild, you know, sort of closing in. There'll be the break on towards nothing. There's another ice canister. We'll probably get deployed. No, they're just going to pull out before Leader gets entirely encircled.
Yeah, good fall off there from Leader. Oh, almost gets picked off from the main door. But he actually was able to get a nade out of that. Sneak had used the nade to try and remove the Tabaro canister, but he actually missed the nade, so wasted utility, but still, the wall's open, which is the main thing that they wanted. And hello, Tyrant, just running around the site, gets picked off from Boomsy, who's just on the site window. Hello?
I mean,
what's going on?
It's kind of the confidence that I wanted to see from Wild. I talked about it, that I want them to step into the fights, and it's almost Wolves aren't really paying enough respect towards the windows, towards the threat that can always be present across the site itself. There was, you know, there's always an opportunity to be caught out on Border. You are never really safe. There's nowhere that you can commonly sort of set up and be like, they can't get to me within a second. They can always on Border, and Wolves are sort of suffering on the wrong side as Wild push and probe and pry and then pull back. There's another one, 5-3. And they're planting. They're just in. They're just in and off to the races, Demo.
Oh, where's the Solus? They didn't bring the Solus this time around. They had it the last round, but it's since then been sacked off. And if you're going for this hold above where you're just looking to empty out the site, you need to have an operator like a Solus, or maybe even a Valkyrie in the site to give you information where the plant's going down. And if you don't have that info and the plant is able to get stuck, this is the end result. You're having to do an impossible retake. And that was never going to happen for Wolves. Wild just had a look at the bomb site. They said, okay, nobody's here. We know they're going to be above. Let's just take that chance and hope that they don't catch. I mean, it was a bold maneuver from Wild, don't get me wrong. You know, running in like that, knowing that players are going to be above. Very little pressure, don't forget as well, from Wild. They had no intention of going over towards Armory, for example, or trying to put pressure towards Archives. Not having the Solus, not having a Valkyrie to give that information to Wolves is a blunder. They had it the last time. That's the bit that gets me. They brought the Solus in the last time for that specific play. Tyrant has switched off the Solus. I don't know if it's a case of Tyrant said, oh, I'm not bringing Solus this round, or is it a full team has said, oh, don't bring the Solus? I don't know. I'm confused. You look at that lineup, you need some form of information on the site.
Yeah, I guess it's always the other side of it, right? For what Leo talked about, and I made light of the play that they're doing on towards Border, it's not a map we've seen from Wolves. It's one that they want to play against Wild. They're confident against Wild. They think that they're a team that could sort of take them because Wild hasn't quite been able to get in. They're an open qual team. They are hiding the Kaid Tuberau combination.
5 seconds to go.
But really, I guess, you know, how is this going to thread things together? Because if you keep peeking out the windows and putting your pressure into those situations, as you pointed out before, it's not going to get too far. But anyway, the moral of the story I was saying is this could also just be that Wolves are testing and learning their game against a team that they thought would be a bit weaker, which is a risk. It's a time to do it, but it's a risk that might not really be paying off, because if they drop points here, I mean, that puts them in a rough situation for the fight towards the top.
Yeah, I think this is a matchup that certainly could determine relegation. I think we have to be frank at this stage, because these are teams who are at their lower end of the spectrum. And also, don't forget, tomorrow we then have Wolves versus Gen.G, another matchup between two teams in the bottom 4. So I think for Wolves, who obviously want to get out of that relegation zone and try and push in towards that top 6, they need to win this today, or else Wild will leapfrog them. Don't forget that this is, as I like to call it, a 6-point game. You yourself are taking 3 points and also stopping, I don't want to say rivals, but teams who are around you, denying them 3 points, therefore making it a 6-point game.
That's it. And at this point, it's down to seeing how much they can bait. It does seem like they've listened to the idea of let's not just throw ourselves immediately in, but Wild are still keeping the pressure up. They aren't relenting. They're not slowing down. Yes, they might have hit that there's a Tuberau and a Kaid, and that's going to make this fight a bit awkward as the spray comes through onto the soft and a grenade bounces its way right back. That won't get the claw. There's a Blackbeard that's tempted by the engagement. Oh, there's a Blackbeard that's hurt a little by the engagement, but barely anything, and there's the mirror window gone.
I don't know if you noticed, but Garen for a Selma charge at a fully electrified wall, which,
we all
not great.
Mistakes in the heat of an armory assault.
I mean, I think right now for Wild, you need a little bit of pressure over towards Archives window. It's probably what you're missing out here. Again, a lot of it seems to be pretty one-dimensional, and now they're having to try and go for a full rotate towards Ace now, realizing that, yeah, we're not going to get through armory. We can't get the wall open because they hit the cave, they hit the tub. The nade has successfully landed, though, onto a triple wall, but going then for a full rotate to now attempt to attack the other mirror window that you have not removed yet. I don't know if I agree with this. Maybe you should have stuck with where you were. Never mind. You find the kill because Noodle just gets caught out because that wall beside him was open.
Well, there goes Noodle, and now Azza might be the next to fall. He just saw the back of a player, but it's easier for us to spot as they just went, well, we're not going to play with the Tuberau Kaid wall. You can have that as much as you want. The Sense Gadget rolls its way in. They're about to hit a Blackbeard, and that grenade is survivable, and that could be big if they don't know. Krex has the cover and is drawing all the focus. There's a swing round of a Blackbeard trying to find a fight, but they've got to pick their moment in their battles as Krex goes down. Pressure on the window is caught, well timed here by Wild, but they have no more time. 2 players driving in for the plant itself. 1 single on cover here, Matt. They asked him to help his team, and he's doing just enough, and there's a little bit more. A 1 versus 1 out the window. A risky moment, but he gets the position here, and Azza steps in close now. He's going to have to bait this play, maybe get him to jump in. The blind will go up. The spray goes through. Matt's help your team. 100% cost over this opening half. Matt is the team.
Oh, Azza, he mic dumped. He got flashed, he panicked. And then, again, for the SMG, 17 bullets once they're gone. It's not a lot of ammunition in there. It's going to be easy. Very, very easy for the Nomad. And don't forget, where that diffuser was planted, the Nomad had to jump in. No matter what, to get that player off the diffuser, Nomad had to jump in. Yeah? Feels though Azza just panicked in that scenario, no? Just didn't keep his cool. Maybe he could have. I mean, I've seen that clutch plenty of times before, where the defender knows that he has to jump in, even if there's a flashbang. You probably play shotgun close at that stage, and then you just shoot the window as he's going to jump in. That's me being cynical, of course, don't forget. That's my shtick, though, don't forget. That's...
What?
That's, you know, that's what I'm here to do. Who would I be without it?
Me.
Because I can't be the bald one, because, you know, Tim's got that covered.
Yeah, our duo doesn't really have...
I can't be the Moni one, because Dez has got that on lock.
Yeah, you can't be the tall one. Ollie.
Yeah.
You can't be the Australian one. Well, that's a few. We have a few Australians. All right, maybe I'll limit it to the EU MENA talent. You can't be the Australian one. That's Dev.
Yeah. I can't be somebody who knows exactly what to do whenever the diffuser, you know, needs to get planted.
Oh,
20
seconds
seconds
left.
left.
Few seconds left.
Yeah, 20 seconds left.
Yeah,
What am I going to do? Someone knows.
Someone knows. Someone knows.
French.
Can't be French. I was about to set you up there to maybe irritate a lot of Siege fans, so I will. Would you want to be French?
I'm happy where I am.
All right. That's a nice answer. Shows a lot of self-confidence. It's a healthy answer. I would like to be French because I wish I could speak more than one language. I am terrible at languages.
Yeah, so all of us are. Don't worry.
Yeah, 4-2. And, well, they have turned it round. You have to give credit here towards how this game started and where we ended up. It has been a lockdown. Sneak especially getting themselves so in control of that entry engagement. You're probably going to find it a little bit less on the role that they're on defense, but at the same time, it's border. You never really know where the attack is going to want to try and find their first strike and who's going to be the one that gets on the right side of it. Wolves, they have themselves for an aggressive push and plant moment. The Deimos, Dockerby, Capitao, and a heck of a lot of Bs from Grim. Root is one where it's very much going to try and choke out positions with a push on the back, get 1 or 2 kills and shut down not just one player at a time. It's down to WYLDE to see if they can try and keep themselves at arm's length as the first stretch goes onto East and a break on a castle barricade.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an office day, just based on the way Wolves are gearing up at the moment. They also might try and collapse onto the player in towards break. I'm not entirely sure at the moment, but they certainly could because there is one player still lingering outside off that break door. Got Azure downstairs on the Deimos, maybe looking for the floor bank, similar to what, of course, WYLDE were doing on their attacks.
I mean, what I don't really like, or I'm trying to process here, is the lack of the hard breach charges. Not even in the pocket.
I don't know if it's needed though on border. I did mention this. It's about kills. It's not about opening walls. It's not traditional map because that's what I mean. Jump in, get the kills.
Start to come through, but I think on this side, if anything, just having some pocket breaches is going to do you wonders. But Leader threads more kills around what is set up ahead of him. And as Matt takes some damage, Garrett takes even more. The grenade forces them further back in. All right, you don't need to get any of the walls open. Just open the players and go from a single door. The C4, well timed, but the close down on the side of box gets the next, and that leaves just Matt alone as the plant
What's he doing down here?
comes through. Dying, Demo, dying.
There's a moment there it was like, what's this polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas? He's just downstairs. What's he doing down there, you know? His teammates get absolutely ran through upstairs, and he's just botting about downstairs. I don't know. Yeah. Of course, you've mentioned about the lack of hard breach. It's not needed. It's just not on a map like border where you play these crossfires, you play these cut-offs, you play for kills on border. You can get away with it.
I fully agree with that. I think on that side, I think it's still nice to have a little bit just to open maybe an angle onto the wall, but in saying that, I fully understand that when you know they're going to play electrics as they were, it means you then have to add even more. And they had the impact EMPs on Grim, but you're bouncing grenades over the top instead of using them to try and kill things. I get it. I just, as a hard breach player, as an older person who plays this game, is the other way of phrasing that. I miss hard breach. Just generically.
I think it kind of tells, how me and you are as Siege players. You went, I love a hard breach. I'm like, nah, give me blitz all day of the week. It's one thing I'm missing. Where's my blitz on border? I stand by this. Best operator on this map is blitz. Like, I don't care. He is just he's the guy.
I was going to say, he's not been brought up, but what do you take about WYLDE's attacker bans? Because Brava is brilliant at this moment in time.
I think Brava's good if you're going to lean into a lot of heavy util. So you're looking at Banshees, for example. Probably looking at Butte Jammers as well. You've got a Rooney Gates here as well from Sneak, which obviously that can be hacked. So it's not a bad ban getting rid of the Brav, and you get a lot of util value on a map like Border because, as I mentioned, with the no hard breach, which keeps coming up for some reason. I don't know what you've started here with me, but...
I don't know, I'm so sorry.
Because you don't bring stuff like the hard breach gadgets, you're going to be bringing in flashbangs, smokes, nades as, you know, your secondary equipment. Oh! I love it from Boomsy!
Okay,
Matt,
but then two from Matt? Where did that happen? Was it just a front door? No, they just tried to scream in demo.
Oh.
They just tried to go for a rushed plant, and Matt was in a position to stop it. Now, you have a kit in a rough place to get. It could be being watched from the back detention. It could be being watched from pressure on the bottom of the stairs. And you have to dive to get it. So instead, to be honest, my focus here would be try and compartmentalize things, go up towards the top. You know there'll be players above, and that's the start. And at this point, Leader just has to sit and wait for Azza to show up. It's the two players that have been popping off for Wolves, but unfortunately, you know, Plan A's failed. I think that's fair to say.
Here it could be only just Plan A at the moment, because really what else do they have? It's just two players who have to try and play together to find kills, and Mats has been able to delete Leader, but just got to mention, good play as well, even from WYLDE, just getting out of there. You know, the player drops from Sandwich down the hatch, doesn't need to stay up there to, you know, give Wolves a chance of a clutch, just playing very safe, very passive. That's great to see from WYLDE's perspective, and yeah, Azza, 11-4 at the moment. He did have pretty good time in that first round where he was able to clutch up alongside Leader at 2v4, but now it's just him in the 1v4 and takes a hefty amount of damage there from a C4 and now drops in towards Phantom. They would have heard that drop. Easy one for Matsu. Big player that round.
I was going to say, it feels like Mats has taken the old chat comment earlier on in the game personally. And yeah, you might have asked in the previous round at the end, what are they doing downstairs? This time, well, building up to this round, maybe. A huge play from them. It was either a 3 or a 4K, but again, entry kill into their favor. Only once has Wolves been able to get that statistic in towards their side. And here, Boomsy. I mean, the Boomsy jump out, it was a go of it. I think that's fair to say. I'm not entirely sure what they expected if they knew that the rush was coming in elsewhere, but if that had gone away from them, especially as it was the Solace, and the kit had started to go in on the other side, I mean, it could have been a tragedy. They just didn't expect the third body, right? Because there was someone still down below, targeting through the window, watching for the rotate between the sites, you assume, and then they had another player watching the window jump out.
The idea from Wolves was the player on the sandwich rappel was going to stop the players being on the verts. And Boomsy just thought, I'll just jump out the window then. That's just, I'll take you that way. I don't care if it's a shotgun. So, and then that just allows the players above to do what they need to do to stop the plant coming in. Wolves have now really went for a different approach. Obviously, they're struggling to find information, I assume. That's why the Monties came in on the side of Wolves. Leader bringing it in. This is just going to help them control the game a little bit better, because I will say the game is kind of getting away from them now. I don't think they have the control. I think WYLDE have certainly looked the better team at the moment with the way that they've controlled the momentum and the pacing of the rounds. So bringing in that Monty, it's going to almost stabilize them, isn't it? It's like you've got your 4-year-old, his brand new bike, you've put the stabilizers, because if you don't have them, he's going to fall, he's going to crash, he's going to cry. So that, I think that's the idea here for Wolves.
Now, the read on at least some of the approaches, the Monty comes out. I mean, this was the sort of turning point round for WYLDE on their attack, getting themselves in on this tertiary side, and then since then, building into a flawless rest of the half from this point. The action,
I like this,
gets the read through, and yeah, the cover of the smoke here on towards the waiting room as they just slip on by all the way. But Boomsy does find a kill in the meantime, but do they know? Well, now they do. Getting in close, knocked down by the Monty, dropped. There is a kill at the same time. A little bit too bold there, Evan. And another smoke canister will go out, but the rotate round from the side of the stairs, that needs to be watched and monitored. They have the rotate on the slip. Tyrant gets sneak, and it'll be a post-plant with the Monty, which is not an easy one to fight your way back into here. The C4 thrown and blown and wasted. There is the close down. There is the encircling. You need some help. Help your man. Help the Frenchman. He is just dropped and massacred. As it gets one.
Where's Tyrant?
Boomsy's just going to hold it. Run, boys. You're out of time.
Where was Tyrant? Where was he?
Other map, mate. He was boarding the helicopter.
I'm so confused. I'm so confused. I thought Tyrant was in... Was he not in towards... kind of customs area? In towards waiting? Where did he go?
Must have dropped out passport, but...
Well, no, but Boomsy was in passport, no? He ran straight through. Hang on. I'm getting the VAR up. 2 seconds.
Get that VAR up. Get that VAR running.
Because that is that's going to annoy me if I don't have a little bit of a look.
So 6-3. I mean, it was a bold move, but if it bought time to reposition, and that was a brilliant move, really. WYLDE knew they had to just swan their way in. You get one moment on the back of confusion, and that is further confusion, right? You get that one chance, and they took it with everything that they had, pushed themselves on to map point the chance for 3 points here. But after the start WYLDE have had, after the graphics we've seen, after being the only team that does not have a win in this split of the Europe MENA League,
5 seconds.
they could be walking away with 3 points and leapfrogging. Ooh, a couple of these still to play.
Yeah.
Gen.G, Wolves, and Fnatic up to 7th place.
Check is over.
Yep.
He was in waiting, and then he ran away, and he went outside, and he was going to run all the way to the single teller's window, even though Azure was already there. And then it left, obviously, leader in the bad scenario, and then he had to double back on himself, and it just took him too long. He just ran away.
As I said, it's a teething game of a border here. It's them trying to work it out against an opponent. They thought that if things went wrong, they could still shoot it out. That has not been the case. WYLDE, they sniffed an opportunity and latched on with everything that they have. 6-3. And now everything has to be flawless here from the side of Wolves. Just got to thread all of the sides together. Sneak.
Oh, Sneak.
Suffers a bit of damage. Not enough to really shake him off. But are they going to get one more entry statistic for their name? As I said, it's still only the single that's playing onto their favor. The Flores gets rid of some of the utility on towards the door itself. As the pressure comes around, the Bees get a sweet reveal, and
wow,
there it is. Sneak. One more for the road. Traded out by Krex. But Noodle gone 1-9.
1-9. Not good.
Just shut out.
Yeah, especially from someone who would look at and say, you know, he should be getting stuck in there as a kind of opening entry player. You know, he's played that role plenty of times in his previous teams where we've seen him just highlight after highlight on the scoreboard, but not today. Certainly not today. 1-9. Not good enough for him. And, you know, his team's struggling because of that. WYLDE looking good right now. There's still a minute left. That's it. That's all WYLDE have to do is hold out for a minute. Wolves have got nothing. No control. What do they have? East stairs, and that's it. They don't have security. They don't have any pressure in towards office at the moment. Mats, though, will get taken out as Krex has fought. Have to do something here. Push straight in free break. We've been able to get that kill. 45 seconds left now, but Wolves still scrambling.
That's it. Now they have some utility. They can still get a drive behind it, but not a huge amount left. Demo. 2 smokes in both crossbow form
Aaron.
and in pocket, but WYLDE just got shut out multiple places. Suddenly the stab started to come through. There's 1. 2 more to try and take WYLDE's dream. And it's often said this is one of the hardest rounds to get, is that last round, the mental shifts.
Yeah. Photo FaZe Clan. Tell them your troubles.
Sorry, that was a moment's silence. That was a moment's silence for FaZe Clan. No, that we know of.
I'm surprised.
I mean, they might not get another opportunity, right?
Yeah. Just playing for kills. Well, it was. There at the kind of last minute or so, they just thought, just kill, 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 kill. That was the game plan, because there was really no structure there from Wolves. There was no real inkling of where they're going to ever go for the plant there. We don't know. But, hey, they just brute forced their way through. They got their kills.
10 seconds remaining.
The Wolves still in it. 2 rounds is what they need. For Wild, they go up there towards their vents now. And obviously this was a round where Wolves just tried to run in and plant. But little did they know that Boomsy from the top rope with the shotgun was going to put an end to their sandwich repel player.
Reloading.
6-4. The Blackbeard now stepping in. There's no limitations on any of the shields for what is a strong game right now. Wild have no fear for the application of it. Instead, the calls and command over the technology will slow them down, which they lean fully into. The Malusi, the Gates, Varuni, the sort of step up of, okay, you want to swing onto us? It's not going to happen as Krex is almost that first body gone yet again. Pressure on East isn't quite being met anywhere else. There's still some of the control against it, but there is Noodle down again, as you said. 1 to 9. Is it about to turn into 1 to 10? Is a tricky spot to get, but finally Wolves break that run of not getting an opening kill. Their last was on the 2nd round, which feels a lifetime ago.
Yeah, Tyrant, I think, has really stepped up here on the attack, hasn't he? These past couple of rounds to try and get his team out of here. And Sneak again with this DMR. Brutal takes down that Blackbeard, who was already in low HP to begin with, and it's going to be leader challenging on the Deimos, an operator that we'd like to keep alive, because of course those tracks will provide some great information throughout really any point off the round. That's the power Deimos is good at from start to finish. Noodle still alive, so that means he can still use those Selmas to try and attempt to open up that Archives long wall, but it has since then been destroyed by the player in towards that office, who has since then left also. Uses that Selma now to try and root out, but bit of an issue there. The wall did not get opened up on the side it should have been. Oh dear. That's a tough one that Wolves now are going to have to deal with, because that should have been a kill there, in all honesty. Look, that wall gets opened. That player instead of Archive should be dead, but yeah, it's worked out for him.
Well, will it be enough to sort of slow the roll here? A 4 versus 4, but it's damage done to either side. 40 seconds. This could be the last sprint of it. Great pick. Yep. Matt, the nade was the bait, and at that point they knew exactly where he was, and it was just a close down, but they still have to get this plant together. They don't have the Blackbeard to build behind, but they have some good guns, and that was their saving grace in the previous round. The direct route through from the bathroom, slipping on for the fight against the Solus, ready to pop up and peek, but they have to time this perfectly. 20 seconds. And they are not leaving anything to chance. The drone sees the bright pink foot, and the bullets see the end. There is a 1 for Noodle as well. They were almost 1 and 10, but instead a 2 to 9. Oh no, oh, there was a second. I thought we were about to see a similarity there, Demo.
Yeah, almost. I just want to highlight Tyrant and give him a big pat on the back. 20 seconds left. Really, again, scrambling. That is the word of the day for Wolves at the moment. Don't really know what's going on. They don't have the information. They want to try and go for that plan.
At first, then play off that advantage. But what they do, they go structured. They're so slow and indecisive. All we have to do is fall back, maybe play more of C4s, because we don't do that enough. Play a Valk, it's opened. And once again, communicate about like what they are going to do, because we have proper identification of what they're going to do, but we don't set up like plans to counter that. Once again, 1 round, you all got this, guys. What's up next?
Just like we can do that armory no East here again, to be honest.
Yeah, but I'll do the proper reinforcement.
Yeah, do the proper reinforcement. Make sure we take the 2 big in. Like we just play to keep them like far.
Well, what do you make of it?
Frag out.
I think it's a case of the coach is probably looking at it as we're in the correct positions, but we don't know what to do when we're in them.
User has been dropped.
That's kind of, I think, what he kind of sees from the team, which, in a sense, they're for Wild. Wolves up against it. Wolves certainly struggling to get a foothold in the game. And it gets the final 20 seconds, and they just can't really adapt to the way Wolves are kind of like... I don't want to say Wolves are set up all too well, but they can't even adapt to that. Like, a very loose Wolves is somehow still overcoming them. Before that time come in, I was going to mention about Tyrant, how he took that extra 20 seconds just to get the drone out, to then spot out that Solus who was in a bit of an off position that could have easily stopped the plant as the player was going to walk through the wall. So just little things like that from Wolves I have to highlight when I see them and congratulate the players and when they do well. But yeah, I think just from the coach's perspective, he just wants to see them close it out, and they're struggling to do that. I think that's the general gist. Just one round, fellas, that's all they need.
Just one round, easy to say, hard to operate on, but it's also now the same for Wolves. That pressure falls into them, and yes, they've been able to get themselves now these 2 rounds that gets them level, and yes, as I said, they've been able to get an entry kill for the first time in a long time. They are still swimming upriver, and they haven't quite found moments yet. It's a bit of pressure. These Flores drones have been very continual. It's just the, okay, you want to limit how much we can destroy from your hold. Well, here's our sort of response to it. Krex, he had an opportunity there. Unfortunately, didn't get offered more than that. And as spray starts to come from underneath the castle barricades, that's a warning shot more than a chance to kill.
All 5 tracks available. Every single defender has been spotted, so let's give Leader plenty of options on who they want to try and target. But for Wolves, it is just the generic get through all the util. Matt's opening pick, Noodle. Again, another opening death for him. He just, no luck this game for Noodle. 2 and 10. Could be where he finishes.
It's been rough, and, you know, great players have rough days, and it's sort of that moment right now. For a player that you really need to step in for the roster, for this sort of gun game, Wild just seem to have had the answer for him at every sort of turn. It's a spray across the pressure to try and bleed its way up from underneath this, backstab attempt. How aware are they? Not aware enough. There's one, there's the spot on a second and a lot of damage. Sneak survives though. A sliver of health, and there's Evan. Drop the hatch, hit the kill, rotates back up, and it's like it never really happened. Sneak gets one more, Tyrant is gone, leaving just Leader and Krex. Now Leader tucked between an engagement, but they knew where he was, and Wild finally knew what to do. They get themselves their first win, full 3 points just, but you can see the stress on Sneak's face. Now they get a moment to breathe.